Want to welcome on a special guest, head coach of LSU, Will Wade. Fresh off of a beating Tennessee yesterday. I guess we could start there. I'm a big set guy. You know, I know these guys break my chops. I know all the plays. Spain, blind pig, the horn set. You guys ran it a bunch of times yesterday. It was give Cam Thomas the ball at the top, go past everybody, score. Give Cam Thomas the ball at the side, go in and score. I was wondering if you had a name for that play, coach, because you ran it a lot yesterday.
It's a good play. It's a very good play. I tell everybody it's always the horse. It's not the jockey. So you better have really, really good players. It's about players, not plays. And
Okay.
we've got very, very talented offensive players. Cam, Javante, Trendon, Darius. We've got really, really talented guys offensively, and that helps us out big time.
For sure. So, Coach, off of that win over Tennessee, of course, on Saturday, big picture wise, how big was that win? Because I don't know if you or some of your guys hear the bracketology bubble. You guys are right in the mix right now. So, big picture, what does that win do for you guys when we're talking about March in a couple of weeks?
That was big for us. There's no doubt about it. You know, our resume, we don't have any bad losses. All of our losses are quad one losses, but we only had 2 quad one wins. So, you know, really for us, it was about picking up, you know, we have to pick up some quad one wins. I think we were 2-5 going into the day. Obviously getting the Tennessee game puts us at 3-5, and they're a safe bet to stay in quad one. We've got a couple quad 2 wins that could move into quad one if they could get in the top 75 for some road wins. But, you know, it was a big win. We've got to pick up quality wins down the stretch. It's not, you know, we don't have any bad losses or a weak spot on the resume in that sense. We just don't have enough high end wins or as good a wins as we need. And so that was a big step yesterday. We're going to get hopefully another couple quad one opportunities as we move down the schedule here and try to finish out.
So I was very shocked. So you were at VCU with Shaka Smart, right?
Yes.
When he started this year, were you like, what the fuck is going on with your hair? Like, did you say anything to him?
I've known him for a long, long time. I've known him since he was the ops guy at Dayton.
Really?
I've known him for a long, long time, and I've never once seen him with hair. That's the first time, you know, and it's funny because we usually do a preseason scrimmage. So we usually go to Houston and they meet us in Houston. It's a little further for us, but it's the closest halfway point where we can get a gym. So the first 2 years we did it, and then we were scheduled to play them last year in the Big 12 Challenge. So obviously we didn't scrimmage. We scrimmaged Baylor. And then this year we're going to go back to scrimmage in Texas. And so I would have seen him at the closed scrimmage and be like, what in the world, man? But we didn't because of COVID, and, you know, there was no scrimmages or no preseason games. So yeah, it was pretty shocking to see him in that first game.
For someone that has that much hair, you'd think they wouldn't be bald. I don't get why they even went to it.
He's just shaved his head. He's done it for a long time. I guess it's just kind of his look.
Love that.
I had a question off of that, Coach. Obviously, you're in the A-10, and we tweet some things out about different conference races. The A-10 people, like, what was your craziest experience with them? Because these people are nuts. They're fighting over the Wichita State, the war chant. People like, that's VCU's. We have an intern who went to Dayton. They have fights. The LaSalle fan account gets mad at me. I troll the St.
You didn't even mention the most rabid, the Bonaventure people.
The Bonnies, too.
Right. So I guess just go from there. Like, yeah, the A-10 people nuts.
The Bonaventure people are wild. And I know Coach Cox has done a good job at Rhode Island, but when they were at the top of the league, we went to the Ryan Center. I mean, it was packed in there. I mean, it was crazy in there. There's some really, really good fan bases and really, really good basketball in the A-10. But I thought the Bonnies had, when you go up there and that place is packed, I mean, it's so hard to get to. It's such a compact gym that they have. I mean, and Schmidt does such a good job. He's as good an offensive coach as there is. And so I thought those folks were just unbelievably rowdy. But you've got some passionate fan bases. You got Dayton, who's got a big fan base. It's very passionate. You've got VCU, who's got a big fan base. that's very passionate. St. Louis has a really good fan base, and they're really rolling and at the top of the league. And so when you have those guys, rocking and rolling, it's really, really good. It's a really good league, man. It's a great league. It's a tough league. There's a lot of really good coaches, a lot of really, really good teams.
100%. So, Coach, you mentioned VCU, one of your stops. Of course, you're at LSU now, but your alma mater is Clemson. So we have to ask you, let's go back to last year's college football playoff national championship. Where was your head at? How do you pick a side?
Well, LSU signs the check, so it's pretty easy. It's pretty easy. When I get those checks, it says, Louisiana State Agriculture and Technical University. So, I thought LSU would win, and we certainly played great. Burrow and we were awesome. But when they're not playing LSU, I still do root for Clemson football.
Fair enough. And off of that,
we don't practice when Clemson plays football around here.
Fair enough. Strategic scheduling. I like it. What's your relationship with Coach O like? Because another podcast I work for, a part of my take, he comes on and everybody loves him. Obviously, his voice is electric, but he just seems like a fun guy to be around. How are you with him down there in Baton Rouge?
He is. He's a great guy. He doesn't get. He doesn't get nearly enough credit for how he runs the program. Like, everybody kind of laughs at the voice and the caricatures and all that. He is a sharp, smart dude now. Like, he is on top of things. He's as innovative and as forward thinking and recruiting as you've ever seen. You go in their recruiting power hour and some of the stuff they do in recruiting. It's a high level operation, and he does a phenomenal job. He's got his hand on the pulse. He's way out in front on stuff technologically, and he's got freaking scientists over there working on all sorts of different stuff. He's way ahead of the curve in a lot of areas, and those players love playing for him. Like, they love playing for him, and he does a great job. But he's a lot of fun to be around. That's for sure.
If you
he
guys
doesn't leave his office much, so you got to go over and see him in his office, because he ain't leaving that football ops building very much.
Football guy. Yep.
He coached football 20 hours a day if he could.
If you guys didn't go by LSU, I don't think
you.
you guys would get any recruits. Louisiana State University of Agriculture and Mechanical College.
That's the technical. It's Louisiana State Agriculture and Technological University. Or technical.
You wouldn't get any recruits if you told the people how.
It's Louisiana State A&M, LSA, and something like that. I don't know. That's what the system is.
All right. Yeah.
That's way above my head.
Yeah, way above mine too, definitely.
No. I've read a little bit about your practice intensity. You guys actually meditate before the practice. You have the balloon wall with turnovers. You measure guys' heart rate. You have talk rankings. It's all like intensity with the practice. Is that a little bit, I don't want to insult you. Obviously, it's your makeup, but is that like things you've gathered along the way of like, hey, we want to be the most intense in practice? And how do you think that translates, on the offensive end, especially with your team being so aggressive?
Yeah, we don't talk much on defense, but our defense is awful. But I call it like I see it.
All right.
I love that.
I pick stuff up from everywhere I've been. I try to pick up ideas in the off season, go visit with people and pick some things up. So a lot of that stuff I've stolen from different folks, or just, we've come up with out of necessity because we're not doing something well, or we're not where we want to be in a certain area on things. And so, hopefully it contributes a little bit to us having good practices. And, our guys, they do not like it when those balloons pop for the turnovers. They get mad. They start yelling at the managers. I'm like, stop yelling at the managers. You're the one who turned it over. Why are you yelling at him? We got a guy with the pen over there. He's like Vanna White. He just, bam, he stabs that balloon, it pops. Bam, stabs that balloon, it pops. And so our guys get mad at them. I'm like, why don't you stop turning it over and you won't have to listen to it? But, it just brings an awareness and a heightened sense. Because like you said, offensively, at the core of my philosophy offensively is shoot it before you turn it over. That's the most basic of basketball principles, but get a shot on the basket. And we're not nearly as good an offensive rebounding team this year as we've been in the past. We've usually been a top 10, top 15 offensive rebounding team. We're not anywhere close this year, but we do score it, a lot better and shoot it better than we have. But, basically shoot it, get it on the basket. And if we don't make it, then, in the past, we've gone and gotten 4 out of 10 of our offensive rebounds. This year, we're not doing that. That I think the balloons and the turnovers and the communication and that sort of thing does carry over somewhat.
That's awesome. You mentioned the manager. You were a manager at Clemson, right? What's the importance of a student manager in college basketball? Of course, Jay Billis is a big time advocate. I worked at University of Vermont doing radio play-by-play, and the managers, they do all the behind the scenes work. So what do you make of the importance of that?
Oh, they're huge, man. We've got unbelievable managers here. We've got unbelievable people. I've moved to a couple of our, my video coordinator was our manager at VCU. We've got a lot of, we got two of our GAs were managers for us here, and they've moved into graduate assistant roles, and they'll eventually hopefully move into full-time roles if we have spots. They're the backbone of the program. I tell people all the time, if you want to hire the best employee, you can hire a manager, hire somebody who was a manager. And so we've got great people. We don't have all the resources necessarily some of the other teams in our league have here. We just don't have what some of those folks. So we've got people, we've got talented managers. We don't have we have our managers make our videos for Twitter and do a lot of stuff that other people have full-time folks doing. And so we put a lot on those guys. We had guys go take Photoshop classes so they could make recruiting presentations, all that sort of thing. And so, we've got great people. They're hard workers. Are the backbone of what we do.
I might quit Barstool, just become the all-time popping the balloon guy. I would love
Good job. It's a good job. You got to put 8 of them on the wall for each team before practice, and then you sit over there with a pen and you just pop them when we turn the ball over.
I think I'd be great at it.
Yeah. Don't start arguing with them about, it's deflected and it's not a turnover because it got deflected out of bounds. So sometimes I have to step in and make the final decision on the turnovers. But that's the way it goes.
If you had your back turned and you didn't see it, right, and one of your assistant coaches, or if you found out that the managers were like juking the stats and not popping them to like be friends with the players because they complain about it, would you make the managers run?
We make sure that doesn't. We make sure that doesn't happen. If it's ever in doubt, it's a turnover.
All right.
And so that's the way we roll. If it's 50-50 or 60-40, it's a turnover for sure.
All right.
So these creative techniques and ways of practice clearly work, because in the last 2 seasons, you guys have either been first or second in the conference. How would you assess where the state of LSU basketball is right now compared to when you took over day one?
Well, we've made progress. Over the last 3 years, as we sit here right now, and I may regret saying, we're the winningest program in the SEC. We have the best record. We're 1 game ahead of Kentucky, and everybody else is like 5 or 6 games behind the 2 of us. And so we've had the best record in the SEC. Has it been perfect? No. Could we be better? Yes. But all in all, pretty good. I said once we got here, we wanted to build a consistent winner. And to me, that's a team that comes in the top 4, the top 4 of your league every year. That's going to put you in the NCAA tournament. And if you do that consistent enough, every 4 or 5 years, 3 or 4 years, you're going to win. You're going to win your league. And if you keep getting to the NCAA tournament enough, you're going to get the right draw. You're going to get the right bracket eventually, where you can bust through and really have a deep run. So, I think that's the goal when we started out here, was just to be very consistent and be at the top of the SEC. And I think we're well on our way to doing that.
100%. A member of your team right now, we talked about Cam Thomas, Trendon Watford, and Javonte Smart. I got to ask you about the recruiting process of Shareef O'Neal. How much involvement was Shaq with that process?
Well, Shaq was involved. Shaunie, his mom, was very involved. It was Shaq, Shaunie, and Shareef. And I tell you what, now he's an unbelievable kid, great person. Still kind of trips me out every time I get a FaceTime call from Shaq, because he always FaceTimes you. And sometimes it's from odd numbers, and you never really know who it is when you pick up. I'm not big on picking up numbers I don't know, but I kind of have an idea of what the area codes are where it'd be calling from. So it's never gets old, kind of picking up his FaceTime and Shaunie, she's very involved and very close. It's funny. I'll tell you this, in the recruiting, I don't follow much pop culture. I don't know much of anything that goes on. I have no clue really what goes on. In fact, I just walked in. When I walked in earlier, they were telling me it's supposed to snow here tomorrow. I had no idea. So like, I don't follow the weather. I don't follow anything that goes on. So anyway, we obviously I know all about Shaq because of LSU and that sort of thing. And so we're in the athletic dining hall on his visit, and we're eating, and the ladies who work at the dining hall are asking to take pictures with Shaunie, with the mom. And I'm like, so I pull over one of my assistants and ask I'm like, why are they taking pictures with her? He's like, Coach, she's a star on Basketball Wives. You have no idea. You didn't know that? I'm like, no, I had no idea. I haven't watched the show. I have no idea. He's like, she's as famous as anybody. Everybody knows who she is. She was on the Basketball Wives and all this. I said, Coach, I had no clue. I'm sorry. I was like, I was oblivious to it, but the sisters on our women's team. So we've got Shareef with us. We've got a sister on the women's team, and they're great people, man. Great parents, very, very supportive. And Shareef's going to be a really good player for us. He's been hurt, he's been banged up, and he's going to be a good player. But yeah, it's an interesting dynamic for sure.
I can only imagine getting a call from a random number and Shaq's big face just pops up on FaceTime. That's got to be something.
Oh, it's something else. It's something else. He's got like a DJing business. Sometimes he calls. He's doing his DJ. I mean, he's got all sorts of stuff going on. It's impressive. His schedule is impressive, but he's supportive. He's been to 3 or 4 games, and he's been very supportive.
We were talking to Jeff Capel about when you go on recruits, like home visits and everything. Did you have to go do a home visit with him or no?
No, we didn't do a home visit. He came here. We didn't do a home visit with him, but that would have been fun.
Yeah, that would have been a good one.
The one I really wanted to do a home visit with that we never did was Shane Larkin, who played at Miami, and he was at DePaul, but we were recruiting him really hard. And when we were at VCU, I was hoping so bad to go to Barry Larkin's house. That's what.
Yeah. I read that about you, Coach. You said you haven't been to the movies in 10 years. Jeff Goodman wrote the article. We've asked a couple of coaches about it. Your favorite movie is Shawshank, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
I like that's only because it comes on TBS like once a week, right? So they're all the time.
What's your favorite scene?
I like it when he breaks out.
All right. I was going to say I like the beer on the roof and when he plays the record.
Those are good calls.
Yeah, those are my 2 favorites.
Good calls.
So, Coach, I don't know how locked into social media you are, especially in season because you're busy every day.
I'm not. I don't have a clue.
Perfect. So, you may or may not know a recurring guest of the show, John Rothstein. He gives you the American Gangster nickname.
Oh, Rothstein's on this show?
He's been on the show, yeah.
Oh, wow.
He loves Jake. He hates me.
He hates Rico.
Hates me.
No, I may or may not have a nickname as well, but
I think. What's your nickname?
He calls me the Future.
I like it.
Yeah, but it's not about me. It's about you. What do you think of that nickname?
No, I like the Future. It's a good nickname.
Yeah. What do you think of yours, the American Gangster?
I don't know. I mean, he has all these. He's come up with so many of them now. What's the one with Mike Young popping like Orville Redenbach?
That's a new one this year.
Because he likes popcorn.
I don't know.
Yeah.
He if you offer him a recommendation, he won't take it. He has to think of it naturally for him to start tweeting him out after a win.
There you go. It's hey, as long as we're winning, he can tweet out whatever he wants.
All right.
Fair enough.
He knows a lot of basketball though. Golly, it's amazing. When I talk to him sometimes I'm like, what are you talking? Like he'd be talking about some kid who's, the 4-man at Vermont. I'm using that, Jake, because of what you said earlier. Like, hey, the 4-man at Vermont. I hardly know who my backup 4-man is.
when we had him on, I felt so dumb. I was like, I don't even know half the shit you're talking about. He's like, he knows like the 7th grade, like people in 7th grade who's going to be a good recruit or some shit.
Oh, it's crazy. He'll call me, but hey, did you watch this game last night? I'm like, no, I was preparing for our game. He's like, oh, such and such. And I'm like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, sounds good. I try to act like I know what he's talking about, but he studies everything. He's so far ahead of the curve on a lot of things.
No, 100%. You guys have anything else?
Yeah, a little bit of a layoff now. Auburn next Saturday, correct? Or this
Well,
Saturday?
we're going to play a midweek game. That's what I've been scrambling on this morning. We're going to play a midweek game. It'll be announced. It's going to be an SEC game. We had a non-conference opponent. Then we had that. They're going to announce it later on today.
All right. Well, it is our first year.
We got major issues, though, because the place we're going and where we are, it's supposed to snow down here tomorrow or have a little bit of ice. So the people here are absolutely freaking out.
All right.
And so we've got some travel. We got some travel issues we're going to have to work through.
It is our first year. Can we break the news? We got to beat Rothstein. We're trying to catch Rothstein.
The old Southeastern Conference wouldn't like that.
All right.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
I got enough problems without pissing the league office off anymore.
All right. Well, Coach, your team's been awesome. I tweeted it the other day. I think anybody who gets in your region is in for a rude awakening. I love the way you guys are playing. We also want to do a big thank you to Jordy Culata, who's a friend of Ben Mintz, who helped set this up. And we wish you well the rest of the way. We love watching your team play.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one. Appreciate it.
You got it,
Thanks,
Coach.
Coach.